Ever wish you had someone to talk to anytime, anywhere, no matter what you're going through? Meet PsychPal, your 24/7 AI companion designed to help you process your thoughts, calm your mind, and keep you moving forward. Chat anytime during a panic attack, on a restless night, or just when you need to vent. Prefer talking instead of typing? Try voice journaling. PsychPal listens, transcribes, and truly understands. You can even upload screenshots of tough conversations and it'll help you unpack how they made you feel. PsychPal keeps life organized too. It can add appointments to your calendar, track your mood, and even summarize your sessions for your therapist so you'll never lose progress. Plus, built in crisis resources are always just one click away. It's a privacy first, constantly evolving, made to complement your professional care, not replace it. Ready to try it out? Head over to the link in this episode and use my code Pete at checkout to get 20% off your first month subscription to PsychPal. PsychPal, because your mind deserves a companion too. There we go. I think that's the one I like. We got it. We got it. Boom.
That's how you want less. I don't want to be more, but you know I will not. You can try it no more, just so you can hear my try. All the times I have sold, but still got my pedal through the metal. Told you I'll be immortal. That's how you want less. I don't want to be normal, so you can stay inside. That's why they say that you're local. You see, this world is mine. I'm not even your hope for them time. I'm taking more than work, and I will show them one more. So that's how you want last time. I don't know what's so hard. Can you get it through your mind?
Welcome into another exciting episode of Pete for Anxiety. Before we get into it today, guys, let's give a shout out to my partner, PsychPal, guys. There's a link in the description if you guys want to go try it out, get a free 7-day trial. And then, you know what? I was a nice enough guy. I talked to him, got you 20% off if you use the name Pete for your first month subscription. That's right. At checkout, use Pete, get 20% off. With that being said, please welcome in the author of Strengths of the Scars, Avon Lightstone is here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Pete? Thanks for having me.
Well, definitely. Well, Avalon, you guys may remember, if you have seen our good friends from Looking Through the Glass, she was actually a visitor over there first before she came and saw us, which is great. You know, it's awesome. I'm so happy. So, Avalon, why don't you tell me a little more about yourself?
Okay, my name's Avonley Lightstone, and I am an author, like you mentioned, with Strength of Scars. That's just a biography of my life,
Mm-hmm.
talking about a lot of the abuse that I went through and how I could overcome them and see them more as a strength. So now I'm teaching other people how they can use their scars as a strength rather than becoming like a victim and
Mm-hmm.
staying stuck in the place that no one wants to be.
Definitely. Definitely. No, I agree. I use my fear, my abandonment as a kid, I use it as a superpower. And I like to say, because I'm a big nerd. So, you know, the ability that I like to make people feel welcome. That's how Pete versus Anxiety was even started, because that whole thing led to this me having mental health issues that led to this whole space for people to come like yourself to come in and share the things. So, you know, I think it's really great. You know, you're writing a book about your own life. Were you worried when you started writing this book? Because I know you went through a lot.
Yeah, I really didn't want to write this book in the first place just because I really enjoy having a private life and just having my story out there for the public to know more about personal
Yeah.
information. I don't really I didn't want that. And that wasn't like the direction I wanted to go, but um I had this pressing feeling from God where he was telling me like you need to share your story. It's going to help other people and I'm going to use your story as a testimony. So just like, you can't really argue with him. I just wrote it with his help and guidance and here I am just sharing my personal story. Um,
Yeah. So let's get into the story. So what would you say was the starting point of these things? I know that you had your father was a drunk and things like that too. So what would you like people to take away from this book? Like what kind of things can you give them a little taste of what's in the book? For anybody who hasn't read the book yet, obviously, we want to get them excited to come read it. So why don't you give them a little bit about what it is? You know, that way we get them enticed to go read it.
Yeah, so it's really about a lot of the abuse that I've gone through, a lot of abandonment, and just feeling like you're completely, utterly alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like um, you mentioned, my dad was a drunk. I lost him at the age of 3 from a house fire, trying to save my mother from a house fire.
Yeah.
So that was just a really like hard process because at the very beginning of my life, I just had like a structured life with family, and then later I was adopted into a family where my mother, adopted mother, was abusive, and so I just kind of go through the book explaining um, what I went through and how I coped and how
Hmm.
God was there for me and how I was able to just lean in on him as my source of like strength rather than because I'm just a kid. And I didn't really have anybody to lean on or talk to. And so the only the person I could really lean on was him, and I was able to just, like, explain like, he knew my story, he knows, what I was going through, my feelings, and so that's the one thing I was able to trust is, well, at least this person is not gonna abandon me, this person's not going to hurt me in, like, physical or just, words. And, just remember, like, a school teacher telling me, like a Sunday school teacher, and she was a school teacher, telling me, like, I can, pray to God about anything, and, I really did take that,
Hmm.
seriously, and that is kinda, like, what helps me, so, throughout the book, you'll start seeing some of, my narration of why, I was thinking the way I did and why was leaning towards, just like inspiring words of advice. If you're in this situation, this is probably what you're thinking. And then just a little bit of prayer and hope for people that are going through struggles.
So has religion always been a big thing for you guys, even as kids? Is it always been big in your household, or was it that moment right there that defined that you're strengthened it from there? Obviously, because you were using God to get through things. Because you're a kid, you don't have anybody to relate to at that time.
Yeah, what was your first part of the question?
It was religion always been a big part of your life?
Yeah, so when I was in India, I grew up Catholic. And then when I came to America,
Mhm.
yes, I was adopted into a religious home. So yes, religious was such a big deal in my life. Mhm.
Well, I mean, that's great though. Like I at first I didn't really like religion because the way it was presented to me. Okay, it's
Uh-huh.
like a lot of times you see people see those really extremely like religious people that tell you everything's bad for you. This is that, this is that's this, you know what I mean? That to me is just like not what it's like now that I've delved into it myself. Because before I started the show, I'd met a pastor who had changed my perspective on it because the way he presented it to me was way different than anybody else had. Just like we're just having general talks about things. He didn't really just start like telling me anything other than things that just applying things to what the Bible to things I was dealing with. And then he broke it down in a way it made sense to me. And I feel like with religion, that's the biggest problem is that people see these like super evangelicals and all these other, these people, whatever you want to put in, the really super religious people is what turns a lot of people off because they're like, oh, I don't want to be like that person. When you don't have to be, that's the great thing about it. You can talk to God every day however you want to. It's between you and him, the conversation, however you want to do it, however you want to practice it. It's okay. You don't have to do it like everybody else. That if that works for them, that works for them. And I think that's what I like about it is that, I am a man of faith now. I talk to him all the time and it's helpful at times, because sometimes you get lost in your own thoughts, especially with me having anxiety, like it's hard. Like I'll take a thought and start running with it sometimes, and then I play telephone in my own head and then when it started as comes out as something different, and it's nice to have somebody to talk to that, no one else has to know what you're talking about because it's just you and him, one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. I feel like because I'm not part of that religion anymore.
Hmm.
I definitely feel like religion does play a significant part. At least with me, I give credit in many ways because it kind of gave me a scope of God in
Hmm.
so many ways, and it's almost like it planted the seed for me. And so when I was looking more towards growth and learning, then I was able to see like it's more of a relationship um, with God instead of like, hey, you need to go to church and
Hmm.
go every
Yeah.
Sunday and practice. It's not always like that. And people there's a phase where people just hit a certain point when they can have that understanding And it's really just a freedom if you want to continue to go towards religion, because most people are just really comfortable having like just the title of a
Yeah.
religion behind them.
Yeah.
For me, it was easier just to have a relationship with God and not
Yeah.
and just practice what he teaches in the Bible, and that was more
Yeah.
comforting and healing to me.
No, I agree 100% with you because that's the way I am too. It's like, everybody's like, "Oh, you gotta go." No, I don't. I could do it my own way. That's the great thing. And you insert anything. I'm more spiritual, if anything, because I
Uh-huh.
understand like the principles of energy, and I meditate and things like things other people don't really do a lot. Like I meditate and stuff like that all the time, and all these different things. And like you can insert whatever you want, God or whatever spiritual thing you want to put in there. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing basically, and you're basically practicing what that individual you've chosen to follow is what they're doing. You don't have to do it to the T like everybody else does. Like go to church every Sunday. I don't go to church. I read the Bible. I read the Bible all the time. It doesn't mean nothing. Doesn't change it. I don't go out there and force feed it to people because that's just not how I do things. I tell people I am, but I don't sit there and force it on people. And I think that's where the big mistake comes for a lot of things. Is everybody tries to force people to do things. That's what gets them turned off. It's like yeah, because that's what it was for me for a long time. It's just like I didn't like how it was presented to me. It's like you're like, oh, we got to go to church. It's just not my
Yeah,
thing, honestly.
and it just, I don't know, to me, it would provided more of, like, that cult mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. I like that one. There's a
I
good one.
just
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and I just I and that's not to me, I think, like, God wants a relationship, personal relationship with each person. He wants
Right.
to get to know you, and he wants you to feel like you want to know him. And, I just feel like a lot of religion is just clashing amongst each other that they're the true ones, and it just becomes more of like a fight and argument.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
the religious is supposed to be more peaceful,
Yeah.
and we
Exactly.
need to be willing to honor, other people's beliefs at the time because, it might not be true, but for somebody, it could be true at that moment of what they learn, and that's okay, and we need to respect where they're at. And so, yeah,
I love that. I love that. I think it's really great. I think that really is. So let's talk about the book now. Okay.
okay.
The book comes out. What is the response people are giving you to the book? Are people liking it? I mean, you're obviously going to get some of those people who just don't like anything anyways. We're just going to discard them. We're not really worried about what they think. I'm more worried about what the people are saying to you. Have you gotten people that can relate to your story in some way?
Absolutely. Honestly, I haven't gotten anyone that, disliked it. The only person
Well,
that
well, that's awesome.
probably disliked it was they were just more into fantasy, and they were
Oh, okay.
and I had to explain to him, like, "This is an autobiography. This is completely different genre," like, "Okay,
Yeah.
whatever."
Yeah.
That was the only person, but other than that, I would say a lot of people relate a lot
That's
to
awesome
it
though.
because, um, there's actually a lot more people that are hurting and in pain and going through a lot of mental health, that has to do with, like, generational, baggages, and
Hmm.
so when they read my book, they can relate to it in certain levels. Obviously, there's some that are pretty extreme, but most everyone can pretty much relate or have an idea how it's functioning. And I don't know, it's just really nice. I've had people um, private message me telling me, "Hey, thank you so much. This is actually had happened to me by your brother," And so then it makes me look like I'm not like the crazy person
Yeah.
that
Exactly. Yeah.
I was always shown like I'm the black sheep. And so just having somebody else validate that they went through the same thing in my same town, it shows like appreciation and,
Hmm.
they were, grateful that I'm being a voice for them because a lot of people that go through a lot of pain, they just don't have their voice yet because it takes time. Time, takes healing.
Yeah, especially now, and it's great when you find somebody you can relate to, especially you don't have to know them personally to relate to them. And that's the great thing about the book is that, you're getting such a great response and people are like, oh, thank you so much because I feel the same way you do, and it's almost like you're their voice for them. You're saying
Mhm.
something and now, and a lot of times in situations, that's what it is. A lot of people are waiting for one person to say something. I had a guest on, he was talking about his sobriety and he said that his friends in his fantasy football league
we're all waiting for someone to say something essentially, because guys, we don't talk about a lot of this stuff. So one of them mentioned something and everybody jumped in. So it's the kind of feeling I'm getting when, this book came out, people reading like, oh my God, I feel like I'm not alone anymore because this woman has been through the same thing I have, or something similar, or maybe to the extreme, like you said, there's extreme cases of things that happen. But it's great though. I'm glad people are really liking the book. I know when we met originally, I knew the title caught my eye. I was like, yeah, I like this a lot, and I know we only had 2 minutes originally in our first meeting, but it,
Yeah.
it was great though. I saw you, like I said, I saw you on doing my friend's show, and I was like, in the minute you popped on, I was like, I know I'd seen her somewhere. I was like, wait a minute, I just saw you, and I just saw you like the other day on Instagram because they were putting out the clips of you guys talking. I was like, wait a minute, why does she look so familiar? And now here you are. I'm like, well, this is crazy. So this is really cool though. I'm so happy though. You're getting out there. Because I know you said originally you didn't want all the attention, but I mean, it's good attention though. You think about it, like your story makes a difference, and you're proving the point that even if you only touch one person's heart, you've done enough. You made someone else feel like they're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole point is, like you mentioned, a lot of people don't find their voice, and
Hmm.
sometimes we have to and have the strength from somebody else for us to feel like, oh, we're comfortable to be able to speak on this. Okay, and then you are able to digest it a little better to the point where you can get your own voice heard. And so it's kinda neat, and like you said, I don't like the attention and having to, talk
Yeah.
about this because it's really a sad subject, knowing that I'm not the only one that's gone through this. There's so many people that's gone through it, and I'm working with schools, in hopes that
That's
I will,
awesome.
start talking to, children because currently children are kinda suffering in so many different ways. We're just in like a totally different kind of era.
Yeah,
And
we just had a guest on this week about the same thing. She was talking about she does somatic therapy, and she said that she does a lot of work with children too, and the things that these children from born to birth actually remember is very fascinating to know. So I mean, I'm big on emotional regularity for children, so I think you talking to them now, it's great for them, to feel like they're not so alone, because I think that with the crazy rates of just things in general, like suicides and boys 10 to 14 is going up this year. It's insane to say that the 10 to 14 range, that it's going up, but what's not helping is that we have the internet, you have everything else. There's more ways to attack people than before. You have all these other ways of doing things. So I think that the
absolutely.
fact that you want to talk to them, I think it's great. I really love it. I love anybody that's thinking about let's start with the kids and get them on board. That way we can build them into a stronger people than our parents. You know what I mean? But we can't fault our parents because they only knew what they knew around what they were told at the time. You know what I mean? With mental health evolving from what it was to where we're now, the '90s was a scary place to be because you couldn't mention that you were not feeling right because they would all think you're going crazy. Oh, got to go to the mental hospital or throw a pill at it. Just start tucking pills in, and it's like we're not thinking the outcome of what these are, but at the same time, they only knew so much, and it goes for any time period you think of. They only knew what they knew at that time, but now what with the way that things are going now, talk therapy, there's hypnotherapy, somatic, all these different other things that people could do. It's great, and then you have somebody that they could that feels the same way, and as in a book, they're reading your book, they're getting a great response. I mean, it's great that you're thinking of, what, now I want to try and talk to some of the kids, which I think is really awesome, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. And I think with the 90s parents, I think a lot of it has to do with feeling like a little like insecurity because they don't know any better. And it's kind of almost
I
like
think that's a really great
taboo-ish.
point. I think that's a
Yeah.
really great point.
Yeah, and, like, it's kinda taboo-ish, like, because you don't like, not a lot of people hear about it, and,
Mhm.
so when it's, like, completely new, you don't want your kid to be, like, this odd one, and you're, like, the odd parent, and so, like, I feel for them in many ways, but here's the thing, we learn from our past, and we pick
Yep.
up what we, could do better on, and that's kinda, like, where we're at. I think there's a lot more survivors that are standing up and understanding what could make things a little easier, even though it could be hard for them, but, yeah, it's just really cool to see a lot of these survivors standing up, sharing their story, and encouraging, our youth and even just, like you mentioned earlier, like men, they don't talk about their problems.
Mhm.
They're not meant to. Like they're wired to be strong and to be leaders, and
Yeah.
but a lot of times they need that pressure relieved, and it's okay to be able to express your concerns so then you can lighten your load and be able to carry on the next day. Otherwise, it ends up getting so big that you're starting to see a big, huge amount of like suicide rates, like you had mentioned, and we want
Yeah,
to prevent that.
the rates are insane. I think February, someone released a meme that said like 177,000 already, and we were only that far into 2026, and it was just like
You're
it's
right.
crazy. You know what I mean? It's insane to think that that's what it is. And then the NFL players, the two young guys from the NFL that have both taken their lives. The one guy from the Dallas Cowboys who was dealing with a lot of things with his mom, and then the other one, I'm not really sure about the Minnesota Vikings player. I know he did a self inflicted gunshot wound to himself, but I really don't know what his whole story was there. But it's still scary to see that these guys are dealing with these things, and they're all men. That's the
Hmm.
statistic, is that they're all men. It's the scary part. It's like, everybody says we're talking about mental health more, but are we really? Because like, are we not speaking enough? It's a great debate that you're going to have till end of time. So I mean, but for the book though, I was curious. When you're writing this, did you think did you think to yourself that maybe you didn't want to continue going through it as you're reliving some of these moments? Because I know when you had to write it, you had to relive some of those moments, and I know it had to be terrifying. Did you at any point kind of think that maybe you weren't gonna make it to the end of the book? You were like, you know what, maybe I should stop doing this. I don't know if this is right.
That's a really great question. As I was writing this book, I just really just asked God, like, okay, you tell me what I need to write, and I thought I might get like some triggers as I was writing
Hmm.
it. And I definitely had forgotten a lot of stuff, and it's just like, as soon as I started typing things down, it just purged out, and I could just stay up until, like, 3 in the morning just writing. And I would say, like, no, it didn't give me, like, any triggers, it gave me peace. Because I think a lot of it is I've worked on and processed what I went through. I went through forgiveness, and I
Hmm.
forgave my family, and I reconciled with myself and in a place that I was at peace. So when I wrote this book, it was more of peace, knowing that I was going to help somebody else, and it just kind of flowed. So when it flowed, I knew like, okay, you know what? There's no attachment there. It's all just learning.
Yeah. Did you find it hard for the forgiveness part? Because I know with me, it wasn't forgiveness from the other end. It was just me forgiving them for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I just like with my mom, I struggled with that a lot. The forgiveness thing. I wanted forgiveness from her, but I knew I wasn't ever going to get it. So I had to. I think the hardest thing for me was is just accepting the fact that I had to forgive it for myself versus getting it from her. Did you run into that moment at all?
Yeah, absolutely. That was probably like I spent that for years because she wouldn't accept my forgiveness, I
Hmm.
felt like I had to keep forgiving her for me to move on until I got to that point where it's like God was like, "No, you don't need to
Yeah.
worry about it. You give everything to me. You've done everything that you can, and I'll take care of it." Because when we go through forgiveness, and if it's an option that you can talk to the individual, then what happens is you're opening that door for them to accept an apology and communication to make things work. But when it just remains shut, you can only do so much. And
Exactly.
you have to like look inward at yourself. You have to like tell yourself, like, because I think a lot of it that I went through, maybe similar to what you did, um, just I'm the problem. I'm the one that caused my mom to be
Hmm.
make me, behave this way towards me. What did I do wrong? What can I fix in with myself so then she can finally, like, feel, l like, I guess, free and peace? Because
Yeah.
I don't wanna put that burden on her, and, it really I think it's just more psychological we do to ourself, the mindset, and it, like, it really
Yeah.
tears one person down thinking that they're the crazy ones. But once we recognize, hey, the forgiveness, like you said, is really for me, and however they receive it is up to them, but my door is going to be open, but I'm not going to no longer engage with them because I'm done with that chapter. I got to move on.
Yeah, it was hard though. To me, it was like there's this wall, this endless wall that just kept coming. Every time I tried to get to that point where I was going to be like, all right, we're going to make it this time. And it was just shot up. I was like, yeah, yeah, this ain't happening today. Never mind. We'll try again. And it
Yeah,
was the hardest thing to do though, because it was just like you want forgiveness, but you're not going to get the forgiveness regardless, the way you look at it, because that's just the way she was. She was never the type of person to ever say,
yeah,
and I adapted that too for a while. Like I was the same way too for a long time. I would never admit I was wrong, but I had done some self reflection this past year, and it was not a fun ride. It sucked. Like I'll be honest, it sucked a lot. Like you had to admit that you were wrong for a lot of things, and look back on a horrible person I was. It was like, a lot of things I had to come overcome, and a lot of demons I had to battle when I was accepting these things, because you realize how terrible of a person you were to most of the people around you. And essentially it wasn't totally my fault completely, because I acted out of rage because I was so mad about that moment when I was 10 years old. But I didn't I kept telling myself I didn't have a problem, like most addicts do. Like, you don't have a problem, I'm fine. You know what I mean? I kept denying it, even though everyone around me kept saying, "Hey, you need to go get some help. Something's not right." That you get so triggered so easily. So, like, if I get in those moments, like, I just go into complete berserk mode. I'll start like pushing people away. I'll start saying things to try and get them to leave. It's the whole
yeah,
sense of the thing was like, I'm gonna try and leave you before you can leave me, even if that's not what they're trying to do. My brain instantly goes to fight or flight mode, and it's something I deal with a lot of times. When I get in those situations, I have to like work myself down. Now I'm in a better place. It's so much easier to identify when it starts almost happening. I can talk myself off the ledge versus just going completely off that edge where I just go off and get angry about things. And nobody around me understood that too. Like a lot of people didn't get that's what it was triggering me for. Like they thought it was funny, but at the same time, they didn't realize how upset I was, because I didn't know how to tell people. Like I,
yeah,
I, I didn't think I had a problem. So like, I'm not going to go fix a problem I don't think I have. And then I was drinking to hide the problem and all those other kind of things. And I started doing drugs and things. And, all these other things just kept piling on. I was trying to do just to run away from the problem. And then I got linked up with a narcissist, and that was not fun either. Like you get gaslit, and that whole sense of, you feel like you're the crazy one. And essentially you gaslight yourself in some ways too, because you're telling yourself that you're the problem, when it really wasn't you the problem. It was just what happened in the moment, and things like that as well. So it's tough though. It wasn't fun. It sucked ass. I'll tell you, it really sucked. It really
yeah.
did. But I mean,
I would say like it's a time when God really puts you in that fire when he's refining you. It's you get like those emotional roller coasters
yeah,
thinking, like, hey, because a lot of times you're reflecting at yourself and you want what's best, and you think you're the problem. Like you said,
yeah,
you are always being gaslighted, and it's hard. Yeah, the
yeah.
emotions are crazy.
Yeah, then we cup in that I have anxiety and depression, and mine works like an infinite loop. So one will feed into the other. So it's really not good for me either, because when I started doing that, I'd feed into the other one, and then I go through modes where I'm really depressed, and the moments I just super on edge, like I'd be super paranoid about things, and I just like people ask me it's wrong, and I say nothing's wrong, because you don't want to tell people that, because
Yeah,
a lot of people don't understand what you're dealing with. Like you tell people certain things, and they just look at you like you kind of lost your mind somewhere. And,
yeah,
it was like that for a long time until I finally started going to therapy and started working through these issues I had. And, when I started doing this show, I started learning a little more about myself as I go, and I started seeing different things that didn't realize before. Like, I'm energy sensitive. I'm a empath, which would make a lot of sense from a lot of things I couldn't figure out why I was feeling these sensations, as I went through working through the emotions. And it's like having a therapy session every time you click record on this show, because I talked to so many people. I think in the first season of the show, I did like 110 interviews, and that's a lot to do in a year time span. There's months where I was doing like 30 interviews in a month. So like I was going nonstop, and a lot of people didn't realize I was running from my problems. And then I finally decided just to be honest with people about what happened. And then the show took off even further, because it was just like, I'm real raw and honest to the point, about everything. I was more open about what I deal with on a daily basis. And that would attract a lot of people to the show. It was like, you get emails every day from people saying that they're listening to these different episodes that we did with different people, and they're coming up and saying, "Hey, listen, I appreciate what you're doing," because you're having a conversation not a lot of people are ready to have, and I'm creating this space that, people like yourself can come in and share what, they want to share, highlight the books that you have, which is great because I love authors that come in here because it's nice to know who the person behind the book is. They get to know you a little bit better, a little intimate session with you to learn a little more about where the story came from, and then the fact that you're getting such a great response. I love that for you though. That's awesome because that's all you can hope is the best for people. So do you have anything else planning coming down the line that you're not telling us about yet, or?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually working with a producer currently right now,
Hmm.
um, making this into more of like a Christian film,
Okay, okay.
and hopes to help reach
You
more
must be
people.
trying to reach into my movie side because I am a huge movie fan. I'll definitely watch it. It doesn't matter what it is. I watch it anyways.
Okay.
All those movies. So I definitely want to check it out. We've had a film critic. We had a film you come on before. She was working on a film about mental health. In fact, Stephanie Aycock had a movie called God, what is it? The Bloom. It was called Bloom. Sorry, it went blank, but Bloom. So I love it when people say movies. I'm like, okay, listen, you already got me. I don't care what genre it is. Let me watch this thing. I'm down. So that's so cool though. That what stages are we at right now? Is this thing gonna
Well,
happen?
yeah. So right now we're in the writing phases. So I'm working with the producer and creating and just kind of coming up with the scope of the idea and
Hmm.
how to run with it. So yeah, I think it's gonna be great. He's
Any ideas who you want to play you? I mean, that's the part of, we got to worry about, like, who's going to be you on the screen. You got to make sure they fit your, got to give off the energy you're giving, the positive energy you're giving off right now. We got to make sure that person fits that role now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that one's a really tricky one, and we
Yeah.
haven't really got to that point yet because we're just in the writing phase.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought of that and I wasn't quite sure. I do like if you see that picture, that's my daughter. And I'm
Hmm.
hoping like maybe my some of my kids can just be like not obviously the main character, but like just somewhere in the
That'd be
movie
so
playing a
cool.
part. It would be
That
cool.
that would be that would really cool. It'd be a really cool Easter egg. It can be like, oh yeah, look, my daughter's in this film I had made about my life. That'd be really cool though. That's
Yeah.
so cool though. I'm so excited. Do you guys have
Thank you.
any timeline when this thing's coming out? Or are we still just kind of playing it right now in the writing phase, just kind of going?
Yeah. Yeah, we're just in the writing phase right now. It's kinda like a slow process in some ways because we keep changing ideas and, coming up with new ideas where to add them, but yeah, he's the producer off of 300 and
Really? No
Spider-Web
way.
Hospital, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's been fun. He's a really awesome guy.
Oh, I
He's a
believe
good
it.
guy.
Trust me. I love 300. 300 is a great movie. So that's so awesome though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really cool to find out you have somebody with that much pedigree working on it. So we know it's going to be a good film now, man. Definitely, because 300 was great. The way they
It
put that
was.
together was really good. All the scenes, everything, and stuff like that too. So that's really cool. So how did they approach you about this? Was this just like, hey, you pitched it to somebody, or did you know somebody to get him to do it?
No, there was a few people that asked me to that has worked with certain producers and
Okay.
they allowed me to pitch it. But yeah, it's just getting my pitch ready and then sharing the story and stuff and seeing if they'd be willing to take it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's so
and
cool though.
I keep getting a lot of people, like, ask me, like, "Hey, I know so and so that would love to, create a book with you, a movie with you. Would you be interested?" I have to, like, kindly reject that because 'cause I'm obviously working with a producer, but
Hmm.
it's very possible that I could create, like, a different, storyline with somebody else as well because we're only focused on, like, a little piece in the book, and there's so much information, and it's just one book. I have, like, 3 other books
Okay.
that
Well,
haven't
so
released.
what are books you have coming out though?
Yeah,
I
well,
find this
it
more
just
interesting.
follows
Here we
my
go.
story. Yeah, it just follows,
Okay.
different chapters of my life. There's just so
Okay.
much to it. So, yeah.
That's so
I'm
cool
not
though.
sure when to, put that out because I haven't got that right feeling of, okay,
Okay, no,
I
that's
want to.
I get that. I respect that 100%. Though at least we know there's more coming for people. Like okay, well, we enjoy what you wrote here. They have some more to look forward to now. Now they know to look out. They're going to constantly be checking those socials. Like, all right, let's see when is this next one coming out. Well, that's really cool, though. Did you anticipate doing 3 books? Oh, I mean, you said you had 3 of
No,
them, right?
yeah, actually, I have four.
Oh,
Last
okay,
one is more of a help. It's a self help book, and that goes
awesome.
in sharing the details of like recognizing what a narcissist is, like
Hmm.
when you're gaslighted. Just it goes more in detail. It's just almost like a blueprint of how you can use that to help oneself. And there's
That
a lot of
that's so cool. Listen, that just means you'll have to come back and we'll have to talk about the other books. And then when we get to the last one, obviously, we have a good friend of the show, CF Mickey. She released one called Cultivating Freedom that was a guide to narcissists as well. So, and I know hers took off really well. So I think if everybody likes what you have now, I can only imagine what that book's going to do. That one's going to take off flying because people tend to use narcissist a lot, don't really know what the word means, but for you to come in
Mhm.
and bring in your own perspective. It'd be really cool to see. I'm really interested to see how people recept to that too, because they already like what you've gotten already. So clearly they're already digging what you got. So when you get to these other ones and then you drop the last one on them, I mean, I think it's going to be really great. So that just means you'll have to come back and visit us for the other
Yeah, of
ones, and we can
course.
hype up the books and things like that too. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm excited about it. And
Oh, you
there's
should be.
just a
Like, you
lot of
should be.
stuff.
Listen, you got 4 books there. Trust me, that's more than most people get. Trust me, I can't even write one. I've been talking about doing my own. Everybody keeps telling me that, like, somebody actually offered the other day to write my book for me. I was like, I may have to take that offer up on you, honestly.
Yeah, you
Emily,
should.
we're at the point of this episode where we're going to ask you those 2 questions. Now, the first question is a fun question. Okay, so this one's going to be an interesting one. And listen, there's no wrong answer to this question I'm about to ask you. Okay, so the question to you is: if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be? And you could pick any song you want. What is that one you would say describe it?
That
Look at her,
that's
she's really thinking
interesting.
about this one. It's a fun
Yeah.
question because it's so interesting to see what people respond.
Yeah.
The first song that
That,
comes to mind you could use too if you like.
okay. I'm just trying to think. What is it? I can't even think of it. But I would say Amazing Grace
Okay,
in many
okay.
ways because like I don't know, like we all have issues, and
Hmm.
God gives us grace to like overcome and with His love, and as we anchor on Him, like our mental stability dissipates, and it just becomes more of like harmony, in your life. And when you look back and reflect on your life, it's like, oh, those hardships that you went through was needed to become the person that you are, that harmonizes the grace that you're carrying with God.
I love it. I think that's a really good song, and I love exactly the explanation you gave for it because I think it's really great. That's really awesome. That's the first time Amazing Grace has come up, which is great because I love when we get new entries into the thing. I don't think we've had any repeat ones yet. We've had some interesting responses to. I think the last person I asked that to, they said they were listening to some kind of humming, kind of humming music. I was like, listen, anything counts at this point. It's music to me, man. Music's great because a lot of people apply it to their lives and the things they listen to. Recently I'm finding out a lot of bands that I listen to. Some of them are Christian bands, and I was like, really, no way. I didn't know that, which is still pretty cool because it's still not going to change the fact of filming. In fact, next season's artist, he's actually a Christian rapper who's going to be the intro song because every season from season 2 and now, I've been choosing different artists to use their songs for my intro for the song.
Nice.
One of them I met running through. I was on TikTok running around and met the gentleman named Mike. So Mike is actually going to be the artist for this season coming up. He has a couple of songs he said that were mental health related, but he's a Christian rapper though, and I really like the way his sound is. I've been checking out some of his stuff and things like that too. So it's really cool though. Amazing Grace came up because I think it's a great song. I think a lot of people don't realize it can mean different things to everybody, but I love the explanation you gave. So we are at the point of this interview. We're going to ask the last question before we start wrapping up. So the question to you, and the reason this whole podcast started, is that if you could break the stigma about mental health. Now, what I'm asking you is there the one thing that you hear people say that you just want people to stop believing? Like, hey, listen, I know this is what you think is right, but it's really not.
Oh yeah. Just because somebody's religious doesn't mean that they're perfect and that everything is just nice and great. Like just because, once the door closes, then sometimes the people that you trust and think that it could be in your leadership, like bishop, pastors, they might be carrying dark demons in their home that they haven't cleansed out. And just know, like, Satan, he is the
Mm-hmm.
angel of light, and he masquerades in it. So, like, people are the same way. We can masquerade in light. So don't always have your guard up and always make sure that you're protecting yourself, and just don't assume that these just because they are church leaders that they are one to be um trusted. Pray over them, always pray over them, because when you do, then God can always help you understand if they're one to be trusted. So yeah, I would say that.
I love it. Absolutely. Evelyn, with that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Peace for Society. Before I start signing off, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they definitely can be watching out for these other books coming and the movie coming soon, too.
Yeah, so on my website, avonlightstone.com, you can grab my first chapter, I think first or two
Mm-hmm.
chapters of my book, just to get tidbits of what it's about, if it's something you're interested in. Like, I don't want anybody just to feel like they're obligated to get it. Like, understand what you're getting into. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
something that resonates with you, then yeah, just you have that option to have a preview. And then just my social at Avonley Lightstone on all my social, Facebook, TikTok,
Oh, look,
Instagram.
she's on TikTok, everybody, too. You're the first guest this week that said TikTok. I was waiting for somebody to say that. I love it. I think people sleep on TikTok, honestly, but that's awesome to hear, though. Guys, I'm
Yeah,
going to have all those socials listed down below, everything like that. But thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. It was a pleasure. I'm so glad
yeah,
we finally got to sit down. I'm so excited, though, to hear about the other books coming out because, like I said, you have an open invite to come back and we can talk about them as we go. The movie, for sure. I'm so excited to see the movie come out. It'd be so great to say it. I met the person that made this movie and things like that, too. So I really do look forward to it.
yeah. You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And guys, with that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Peace for Society. You know where to find me on Peace for Society and X, all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to Pandora Radio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do could save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete for Society, sign off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?